talking about being camera ready for a podcast, a video vlog, social media, IRL events with the one and only Dr. Angela Sturm. Thank you so much for taking the time to be in the studio today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So something that you have said on more than one occasion is that people do not pay attention to whatever they think is on their face that bothers them every day.
To you, it's huge, and it's this big mole, and it's this, and everybody's going to be looking at it. And I've had people that are like, I will turn my head so people won't see it. And just know that whatever noise you have in your head about your face, everybody else has that too. And so that's taking up so much space. Trust me, they're not noticing the little things that you see. And, and we see ourselves with 10x mirrors and with phones that give us weird angles and all these things. And other people see you in a much more balanced, normal way. So they're not paying attention to that, especially with the noise in their head.
It would have to be a huge booger in your nostril for them to say something.
Yeah.
Even then, they probably won't.
They'd have to be your friend that's like, hey,
might want to get some
might want to do
Kleenex.
something. Yeah. Something that'd be socially a reason to tell you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and you have Beauty Unveiled is the podcast. It's on YouTube and all the other audio feeds. But another thing that you have talked about is the iPhone angle. And I never really thought of it that way. I always thought that it was you take a selfie, looks good or it doesn't. And then there's this setting. I think my daughters have called it the 1.5 zoom in or whatever. And that's something that I guess you're having to talk to people who go to your office about.
Yeah, because that's how we're seeing ourselves now. And it's funny because even my kids are like, oh, let me take a picture so I can see. But especially if you use the back camera, which most of us do because we can see it while we're taking the picture, it's skewed and it's more of a fisheye. So whatever's in the middle is going to look bigger, and you're going to have a completely different picture far away than you are up close, and up compared to down, and whatever's in the middle is going to look bigger. So I'll have people that come in and they take a picture of underneath their nose and they're like, don't you see? And I'm like, well, first of all, like literally nobody sees you from that angle. And secondly, of course it looks weird. Like that's the way that the camera works. It's not accurate. And so sometimes people will get upset and they'll say, well, you use these fancy cameras and it looks different than my iPhone. And I'm like, the reason we use those cameras is it's the closest to how people actually see you. Like it's the closest to reality, and the distance that we use is everything is very curated to like, this is what reality is. And that's why we call it like standardized photography. And so when we take those pictures, we can say, okay, this is what's there. And this is, what's real. And so when people get upset about that and they're like, but on my iPhone, and like, because that's not how anybody sees you.
You don't want your plastic surgeon taking pictures on their iPhone.
Yeah, I'd have a lot of questions,
The fact that somebody would even make that argument kind of... Another thing that I want you to touch on too is because people are more educated than they used to be. But then this example, not so much.
Right, and things we don't know, and it's not in, the iPhone's best interest to tell us, okay, these pictures are not going to be great of you. They're like, oh, it's the best camera, it's this, that, and the other. But it depends on how you use it. And like you said, your daughters probably know all kinds of settings.
They made my dog look so cute.
Yeah, they know how to use it way better than I do, and so there's things you have to know about it. And but it's just, if you just hold it and take a picture, it's not the same. And there's even papers, like scientific papers in our field, talking about, how to take a picture and what is most accurate, and that the phones are not accurate. So we have something that scientifically has been peer reviewed that's not a good representation.
Do they update those papers whenever there's an iPhone, like a new iPhone, because the tech is always changing?
It is always changing. Like the basics are still there, so you can still use that. I think if there's like a major overhaul of the camera, there'll be a push to redo those papers. And there's always new, young people coming into medicine that know about those things. So I'm sure they're going to be the ones that are pushing that of like, oh, this is completely different because of whatever, and we need to look at that again.
What was something that has changed since you started?
So in thinking about this on the way here, whenever I first started, you would definitely see people that were like on camera all the time. They were news anchors or whatever, and they would come in and they were under a lot of pressure, and they still are. But they would say, oh, my producer said, I have a little line right here. I have this little thing right here. And what can you do about this? And we're we're talking in millimeters and we're fixing little tiny things. But now that everybody takes, their own pictures and their own videos and you're uploading it, and our idea of social media has changed so much from here's my dinner tonight to like, here's a very curated video of my life, of montage of the weekend, you see that in just everybody, that they come in and they're like, oh my gosh, in the videos, this profile looks like this and this profile looks like that. And so what we saw in that very small percentage of people, it's kind of everybody. And so you're having to talk to people about, okay, what looks on camera may or may not look good in real life, and so for chasing lines on camera, that's how you get to weird, So we have to find a balance of what's going to work.
I've learned from you during our recordings that you cannot get rid of every line. You couldn't even do that with a small child.
No. I mean, you look at kids and they have lines when they smile, and they have some of them will have the little bags under their eyes because it's just a genetic thing. And, you have people that come in and they're like, I want no lines. I'm like, that's totally unrealistic.
We're humans, not action figures.
Yeah, you're going to move. And it's to your previous point, they'll be like, oh, well, she doesn't have lines and she doesn't have lines. And I'm like, I can point out all the lines on my face. Okay. So you're way more picky about yourself than you are other people, because you're like, oh, y'all don't have lines. I'm like, oh, we definitely do.
One of the things that I feel that TV anchors have really gotten the wrong end of the deal in would be HDTV, because now you can tell that they're wearing way too much makeup.
Yeah, you can see everything. You see
all the flaws, but then all the makeup.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking about?
I get distracted, and it's that finding that balance of like what's going to look good and what's going to look like you have makeup on, which can be distracting.
Let's talk about something that people who are on camera a lot, whether it's hobby podcasting or podcasting as an extension of their business, and they're on video a lot, something they can do that costs almost nothing, or that costs no more than a trip to the grocery store on Sundays.
So hydrate your skin if you're worried about how you look, and so that goes a long way, whether it's just drinking water or just a good moisturizer. It doesn't have to be expensive, just something that like moisturizes your skin. The people I see that I'm like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. They're like, oh, I'm just moisturizing my skin more. Like, it's so simple, but it makes a huge difference. And if you can find a sunscreen with like a little blurring effect, it does a lot.
Okay, I'm sorry, sunscreen with a blurring effect.
Yeah, they make them that it's probably like Sephora or something, and they're not expensive, but it'll have a little something that it's not makeup. So everybody can wear it, but just kind of makes your skin look a little bit softer, and then just your favorite outfit. If you're comfortable in your clothes, you're going to be, that's one less thing you have to worry about. If you're sitting there and you're like, oh, my skirt's a little short, or it takes away from focusing on what you're doing. So just feeling comfortable in whatever it is, like your outfit, or you said your makeup, or if you feel like, I know when I've had my makeup done and somebody else did it and didn't like it, I could tell in the videos, that you're like, I'm really unhappy.
Why did I pay that person?
I know, you're like, I gotta go wash my face. But you have to be comfortable with whatever that is, or you can tell.
What about people that work out outside? And I may or may not be asking for myself selfishly, because I do like to run outside, and the sun, and we're in Houston, it's hot, you're sweating, hair product, because I don't wash my hair every day, I know, but I've heard from my daughters that you're not supposed to wash your hair every day because you want to retain the oils. And so I don't wash my hair every day, but if I'm running and it's hot and then I'm sweating, I got the sweat and the hair product coming down my face, and I'm surprised I've never broken out like a teenager, and here I'm 50. It's like, but for somebody who does that and is also very self-conscious, because I'm not really self-conscious about it, but for someone who's like really wanting to take care of their face a little more than me.
Yeah. There's some really good like sports sunscreens that will stay through the sweat and all the stuff, so at least SPF 30. If you can hit 50, that's better. Much above that is minimal coverage. So you're at like, I think it's like 95% at 30, and then 50 is like 98 or something like that. And then after that, it's very small. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to do 100 SPF, that's minimally better than like 50, but 30 to 50 is great. So the waterproof, and then, like a hat.
Guilty of not wearing a hat. Maybe that's something I should consider starting. Yeah. What about for people who maybe have like allergies or something? They're really super like skin sensitive, because there's a lot of that. My daughters are very fair skinned. Yeah. And very sensitive to the sunlight. One of them in particular. But for someone who's like, it's nice, I'll just stay inside and I have a treadmill at home. But they're not outside walking the dog or doing yard work, and they want to take care of themselves, but they got to be really considerate of what they do. Yeah,
you do have to really look at the products that you're putting on your face, and they call them like cosmeceuticals, the ones that you can buy in like the derm's office. There's a plastic surgery office. A lot of times
like Dr. Sturm's.
Yes, they have better quality ingredients that you're less likely to react to. So they're a little bit better, and you can try them. And usually you can try them on there and just make sure your skin's going to be good. There's different brands. I really like Elastin because it's made for sensitive skin, and it's made for post-procedure skin that reacts to everything. So if you're somebody that you're like, I might react to this or that or the other, it's a good brand to look into.
What patterns do you see between how somebody talks about their face and how they show up to your office or show up in a social gathering?
I feel like we all kind of have a certain outlook on life that includes our face, and our face is a very socially important part of us, and so I feel like it's amplified, and it's one of the things we sort of look for in surgery is like how they interact with everybody, and how when they come into the office, are they nice to the front desk person? Are they happy and cheerful, or they don't want to fill out the paperwork and don't want to take pictures, and they're not nice to anybody, and then they're probably not going to be super happy with the results regardless of what it looks like. They're probably not going to be a good candidate. And so it's that. And one of the surgeons that is in facial plastics, it's kind of like the dinner party test. Like, would you want to be at a dinner party with this person? And if it's yes, then you're probably good to operate on. If it's no, then run.
There's nothing you can do. Kick them out of the office now. Security.
And a really successful one said, I only operate on people that I would actually be friends with. Not that you're friends with all of your patients, but if there's somebody you would be, you're probably going to get along. You're probably going to have a positive enough outlook on life that they're like, yeah, I can see a difference. I can see that it's better. I see that, they're seeing the positive of it rather than someone that just always sees the negative in things. And people are complicated, so there may be a lot of different things going on in their life. They have stressors, they have whatever it is, but however they got this stressor of their face and surgery or whatever happens to their faces is like that much more, and it's that much more stressful. So to me, it's just kind of amplified, like how they look at everything and look at the world. And
so you've had a rhinoplasty before, and it was after your fellowship. And so how do you bring that experience into what we're talking about when you see somebody for consult, or even if it's somebody saying, hey, you know what, Dr. Sturm, I got this thing and it's really been bothering me. It's bothered me since I was a kid, and maybe they're in their 30s or 40s, and you're like, well, because I wonder how much psychology you got to take in to be able to have a conversation with somebody like that.
Yeah, we say, we're part therapist, part surgeon, you kind of understand where people are coming from. And people are scared, like it's scary. The thought of having surgery on your face is scary. So it's helpful to kind of recognize where they're at and be able to relate to them on, what it is that they might be concerned about. Or, like you said, I've had this problem forever, and I don't know if I want to do something about it or not. And you can say, oh, well, I had it as well, and I'm so glad I breathe so much better. Like I sleep better. All these things I didn't even realize were going to be better. And so it's kind of like reassuring, and you can understand the hard parts too. Like when someone comes in, and we just had someone that, at day 5, you're like, yeah, I think I'm okay. And you're really nervous, but you're just like, it's the first time you've ever seen yourself different. completely different, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think so. And then we just saw her on day 10. She was like, yeah, no, it's good. And you can relate. I can relate to that feeling because that's exactly what I had of like, yeah, no, it looks like it's supposed to look, but I don't know yet if I'm happy or not.
Because it's a whole journey. It's not just something. Okay, so y'all got to go back and listen to, I'll link in the show notes, but it was a conversation you had with Dr. Rodman 2 years ago, I think. And it was something that you all talked about. It's like the Amazonification of society, and people want that result like right away. But if you're operating on somebody's face, no ma'am, it's not going to look it's not going to look like that.
Yeah. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right away,
and seeing things online, I think, is not helpful because you're like, oh, look, it's before and after. And you're like, yeah, that's a year later, you know. And you have the bias of the internet. And I had someone that was like, well, I saw someone online and they were at 3 months and they had no swelling. And I'm like, false, because they definitely do have swelling, but is theirs different from yours? Probably, because you're two different people.
Right.
And the people you see online are going to be really happy or really unhappy. Like the people in the middle are not usually sharing their journey. They might, but fewer of them than the ones that are like, oh my gosh, look at this, or I'm really not happy about it. You know, it's like it's just the natural bias of the internet, you know, and people saying, oh, well, this person looks perfect at a month and I should look perfect at a month. And I'm like, they don't. I promise. They're sharing their highlights the way everybody else does, you know, so you can't believe everything that you see, and they probably have makeup on, and, you know, there's just, people want it right now, and then they can find evidence for why it should be right now, and you're like, none of that's real.
And then you're like, out of my office right now.
I'm like, trying to hold your hand through this, but it's a process, you know, it just takes time, and it will get there. It just, I want it right now too. That would make my life easier as well.
I mean, seriously. Okay, so let's talk about your podcast. We're a little over 2 years into the journey, which is crazy because time seems to have just flown. But what has surprised you the most about hearing yourself on Apple Podcasts or Spotify? Is it anything like if you were to ever hear yourself on the radio when someone's playing one of those cheesy countdown shows? I mean, what is that like for you?
Yeah, it's different because I don't know if I ever told you this, but I used to be terrified of video or speaking in front of anybody, but like literally tears terrified.
Really?
And it was when I first started practice, you know, when you're young, and I think it comes from like having to stand up and talk in front of people much more your senior about topics that I have read about in a book and you have done for 20 years, and you are going to come for me if this is not correct. And I don't know because I am just a resident and I have no clue, you know, and so it's just this terror of having to speak in front of people, and then, you know, and then you're vulnerable and you open it up to the whole internet to like, who knows what they're going to say. And then you realize nobody knows what you're talking about most of the time, so it's totally fine. You know, like there's not this whole internet of experts out there, and as long as I come from like my experience and my life and what I've done, and even like speaking in front of other experts, if this is what works for me and being authentic in that, and this is me, there's not much to argue about there, you know. Nobody can say much back to that, and it makes me feel much more comfortable of like, this is, you know, what I've experienced, and you can argue, but it doesn't go very far,
right? You
know, so getting and feeling more comfortable with it now and listening to it, and it sounds like okay, and that's it. So it's just such a big difference from where I came from. And my daughter Googled me at school the other day, and that was, you know, that's part of that where she's like, yeah, I Googled you and I showed my teacher, and, you know, we're on YouTube and all this stuff, and she's showing her videos.
Nice.
So that's sort of surprising, you know, like things you don't think about like that, of like, oh yeah, your daughter can Google you at school.
Wait a minute, why is she on Google at school?
Exactly. That was our question. Like, what were you supposed to be doing that you were not? Focus.
Really? But I want to go back to this because when we started working with you, you were already, I want to say it, at least 150, maybe 200 videos into your YouTube channel. Like you had a following already that was impressive and is still impressive. So we inherited the vast majority of that audience when we started working with you. So at what point was it just another day at the office, like when you go and operate on somebody's face?
We had been doing videos once a month since I started my practice in 2020. And so every month we would do 8 to 10 videos and it'd be like, here's the topics, and started with like the teleprompter. And then, like I told you, I can't read from the teleprompter. It sounds like I'm reading. Like it sounds weird. And the comments would be like, she's clearly reading.
Oh,
like,
man.
I'm
going to go back on YouTube tonight. I'm just kidding.
I know, go back to the early ones. You're like,
Oh,
no, you're
man.
right. And so I had to figure out, I just need like the topics, and then I can talk like I'm talking to a patient. And because that's what's most comfortable for me, is like, if I sit down with you and how do I explain this to you as a patient? And that's one of the things I liked about plastics, is it's pretty simple, like explaining things to people. It's a pretty simple thing. I'm not trying to explain, okay, we're going to go into your abdomen and this big black box of things in there, and where are the things? And no, it's like, it's your nose. We're going to take down the bump. We're going to make it narrower. Like, you can see it. We can both touch it and feel it, and very concrete, And so I guess in that process of just doing repetitively, okay, we're going to do this, and that's what we're doing on that day. Get used to it.
Okay, now I want to follow up, because you obviously read comments from people who are telling you that you're reading. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like even 2020 Freddie, who was already decades into being, on the radio at that time, it still would have crushed me. Like,
it was accurate. Like, it didn't bother me because it was accurate.
It didn't bother you because it was accurate. Okay.
I was like, you're right. It does sound like I'm,
So what's your advice for somebody who, and maybe it's not somebody getting called out because they're reading verbatim, but if it's something, maybe if they get their feelings hurt, you obviously didn't, you took it literally like as just a data point.
Yeah. I think that's what it is, because people comment on everything with zero context background, especially in social media now, where you have reels that you just swipe through and you don't know this person, and people just comment on everything. And so that's all it is to me, is, it's a data point. It's either something where you're like, oh yeah, we could definitely do that better. Or like, yeah, you just told me you hated my purple shirt and I don't have a purple shirt, so I don't care. Some of this, I'm sure the people can get really ugly, but I try not to read it too much.
Understand,
I don't know.
Is that more TikTok or Instagram? I'm not on TikTok.
TikTok can get vicious.
Is it really that much of a dumpster fire?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I think so. Because Instagram is like this very warm, fuzzy place where, like, the people that follow me, I know most of them, a lot of them are patients, or they become patients, or they're friends, or, and so the people that comment, I know them in real life. So there's a little bit of that accountability if they were to say something ugly, like, but I'm going to see you Tuesday, Like,
hey, why are you being like that?
I don't understand, but TikTok, you don't know, because you see the people that you follow, you see their stuff on Instagram, whereas TikTok's totally different, where you just see random people. And so there's zero connection there, and they just kind of say whatever, because sort of the culture of just kind of commenting on things a lot of times to get attention in your own right, and to get, to be funny in some way. And so it's totally different. You'll have the same post in both places. And Instagram, they're like, oh yeah, she looks great, blah, blah, blah. And other places, I don't see a difference. And like, it's a facelift, not a face transplant. Like, what do you want? She didn't want to look like a different person.
She didn't want the Barbie nose.
No, she's the same person, just better.
Oh, goodness. So we talked about the episode with Dr. Rodman, but what is an episode that you secretly wish every insecure creator would listen to or watch first?
Oh, gosh. That's a good question.
We've only done like more than 40 of these.
I know. Oh, gosh. I feel like we've done some like personal ones. I think is things like that are helpful whenever people are telling you like their journey. That's what helps me more, is just like listening to other people's like journey when they're actually vulnerable and talking about things. And what about this one? We could make it this one.
Yeah. Well, and one that comes to mind, well, it's the intro, the introduction to Beauty Unveiled, so episode 1, but then there's one where you talked about the entrepreneurial journey, and you really are like a businesswoman's businesswoman, because you started, this is like one of the most impressive things ever, is that you started your business in 2020.
Beginning of 2020, very pregnant.
With a small one.
With a 2-year-old.
Right.
Yeah. With me and one employee. And we're like, well, we're going to do it. Here we go. It's going to be great.
And look at you now.
Yeah. So we've grown. We have almost 10 employees and 3 different businesses in the aesthetic world. And then we just started another completely unrelated business. And, kind of getting to the point of like the entrepreneurial fits where you're like, okay, we need to focus back a little bit.
Wait, there's no way you have entrepreneurial ADD. There's no way. Come on.
With 4 of them, no.
I've listened to some people who are like, yeah, I've got 8 businesses.
Oh,
when do you sleep, bro?
No, yeah, it's impressive, but 4 is good for me. I'm good for right now.
Okay, so final question. What is your favorite podcast that you listen to? It could be aesthetic related, rhinoplasty related, or just whatever, junk food, like podcast junk food.
I feel basic, but I really like the Diary of a CEO.
Hey, I like him too.
And I pick through a little bit because some of and it's my bias too, like the healthcare people. Some of them are really good, and some of them I'm like, yeah, I don't know how much data there is for that truly. But I like a lot of the health related stuff, like longevity and some of the financial stuff, and some of the world views is interesting what people have to say. And he had one with 4 different experts on like menopause and perimenopause. That was very interesting. I think it was like a 2-parter. It was really interesting because there's actual conversation about something there's usually none. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So Diary of the CEO. And if you could pick like one other one, like a true junk food, what does a plastic surgeon do when she's not listening to something or watching something serious, like really serious?
I'm listening to audiobooks on financial topics.
All right.
Because I have 0 education on that, and I've realized, you're 45 now. Like, retirement is around the corner, and unless you don't get it together, and then you're going to work forever. So that's what I've been doing lately. It's like more like audiobooks on planning for retirement and planning for, how do you get the businesses running by themselves so you don't necessarily like just stop working, but you elevate to a different position.
Right. Well, Dr. Sturm, thank you so much for being a friend and client, and for believing in Speke Podcasting. And everybody, please watch. If you're on YouTube, you got to watch Beauty Unveiled. She's got a whole category of a whole library of videos. And if you don't do YouTube, that's cool because she is all over Apple and Spotify and all over Instagram. And if you do TikTok, be nice. Please be nice. It really is a flaming dumpster fire on there.
It's different, yes.
But thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me.